on two barely. But so anytime I am up against the wall and I'm just feeling really what I'm going to be going for is a super efficient money-wise army. So for me, it's going to be a lot of Zealots and a lot of Templars. Because Zealots are cheap on minerals and don't cost any gas. Templar are even cheaper on minerals, and they're going to suck up all my gas. And that will let me get the biggest army possible for my food count. It'll let me just get a gigantic army, very vulnerable to things like Hellions, but I've seen this big Marine Marauder composition, and, you know, here's some ghosts coming out from my brother. He's getting a lot of medevacs. He's going to be in pretty good shape. Or I'm going to be in pretty good shape against that. So here, remember how I said I wanted to take my third oh so long ago? Well, now I'm finally starting to gear up to take it. Took me a long time. Of course, all that happened because I lost all my units here. Most annoying thing in the world. But, you know, chrono boosting Templar, chrono boosting this charge. I almost called it Twilight Charge, but of course, I did my good old reading skills. And, you know, this is something I've been doing a lot. Anytime I start seeing Chrono Boost happen in my replays, I just say, well, how much Chrono Boost did I have at that time? I had a lot of Chrono Boost here, and maximum Chrono Boost here. So I guess the conclusion that I can draw is that whenever I'm in an intense game where all my brain power is being devoted to figuring out what the hell I should do, because it's not a situation I've been in, I have a tendency to forget Chrono Boost. So I want to make sure to remind myself to do that more and more and more. So there is a ghost. I managed to feed back the ghost seconds after it shoots the EMP, which of course seconds is an incredibly long period of time. Yeah, look at my money, force fields. And look at my money not having enough units to kill him. Oh look, oh yeah, maybe Guardian Shield would have been helpful. Oh yeah, that would have been fantastic. But again, I pretty much have a largely Zealot army, so I want to make sure I put force fields back there. And then here we go, hero hold mode, hero hold mode. And this, by the way, I think is a good example of a typical mistake that I think a lot of players make. When my brother won that battle, he didn't really have that many units. And as a result, he's still just sort of charging in here to try to win, but I don't think that that's going to be best. I mean, he's charging in here and killing off my Templar because I still don't have the Kadaran Amulet, so I do not get an extra 25 energy. But of course, never give up, never surrender. Go, mighty probes, into battle. We see the Vikings doing some lifting landing micro, aka doing whatever the hell they seem to want to. And alright, hey! Easy peasy. And of course, coincidentally, I was focused enough to send probes in the middle of this battle, and to just happened to be timed well enough to not run into a bunch of shit that would kill them. And at this point, when my probes ran by, I was like, oh no, uh-oh. He just gets to charge directly down here and finds my expansion. But notice that this force of my brother's hasn't really gotten big in a while. It's overall been a pretty tiny force. It's been about this size because he keeps trying to rally. And because I'm going Zealot Templar, because it's this very cheap, efficient army, it does wonders in small numbers. So this is exactly the sort of thing I wanted. Haven't even done anything with upgrade. Don't even have the time to do that. I really want to take these geysers quickly because I just have such little money. I really do need to get as many Templars as I can. And do I have Storm yet? Do I finally Storm? Yes, successfully on my own Zealots. Excellent. Beautiful. Lovely. Fantastic. That is exactly the way I wanted. And, you know, up to this point in the game, I've been focusing almost exclusively on myself and my own goofy mistakes and my own funky decision-making. And I think that this is the sort of thing that you need to do whenever you encounter these weird, unusual games. Like, I'm starting to notice that I was too aggressive early on in this game. And this is costing me quite a bit. My focus with the rest of my in-base management seems good. My decision-making on when to build these things, on when to get these things, I think that's good. But, God, a lot of these early attacks just completely fall apart. It's because I'm so worried about falling behind in terms of macro and expanding and all this other stuff that I neglect to keep up in terms of, you know, just keeping my army well grouped together. So I want to bounce over and see what's been going on in Nick Land. He's still just macroing really, really hard. He already has 1-1 up, but I definitely think that he could start getting more engineering bays up to do these upgrades. But either way, let's think about some of the decision-making that we're seeing my brother do. So he pretty much did this typical opening, you know, getting the 2 barracks. Then he started to get all these Marine Marauder very standard was getting these medevacs here to support the Marine Marauder. But then, because the opening was so weird, I was forced to go into this super lean army, this Zealot Templar army. And as a result, I'm able to do a lot of funky aggression. I'm expanding. Notice I'm pushing here. I am pushing through this entrance because I'm expanding back here. I'm not trying to push through this entrance because that would leave this expansion and my bottom right expansion totally open. But either way, I'm getting this very, very light army emphasis. And by light, I literally mean this armor type, light. So, what Nick did is he saw this and he's going, now normally I'd be going Marine Marauder even heavier, in the later stages of the game, but because Sean is, weirdly enough, getting all these light units, I am going to start getting a bunch of factories, and I'm going to start getting Hellions. Nick is getting tanks, which I think is an excellent transition, because this means that he'll be able to deal with my Colossi really, really well. He can just siege up and pick them off from afar. And at this point, I'm actually starting to get excited. Because once you have a good bit of Templar, here they all are. Oh yeah, then you can get some great storms off. Now remember, you heard me say just a moment ago, I was so worried about falling behind in terms of my macro. You'll note that my gateways are being pretty damn active, about as active as they can be. I was so worried about falling behind in upgrades. Yeah, I need to get a forge. Okay, cool. I even have some pylons going down here, getting the expansions up. Okay, cool. I want to make sure I have my watchtowers. I was so busy doing all that I do this, really stupid mistakes with my army. One of which being saying, Control Group 1, go into battle, and then accidentally intending to go back and chrono boost things. But I just hit the C button on my main army, and I morph all my Templar into Archons, which is not what I wanted to do. And as a result, these Templar stayed back because they were trying to twirl together and form an Archon, which is not what I wanted them to do. Here are two perfectly placed storms that exactly miss his army. And at this point, I was like, oh god. And I had these Archons, and I was like, So obviously, I think that I could have done quite a bit better in that game. If that had not happened. But, if this is you, let's say you're me, and of course, I will let you know things like you are horribly embarrassed and thinking, wow, that's going to be broadcast over the internet too. You're not too happy about the fact that you charged with a big game-winning army and then made a bunch of Templar. Obviously not good. But I think this is useful for me, especially to say that, okay, when I am at a point of a lot of panic, and by the way, from the very moment I lost these two gateways, I was pretty much in panic mode. Like serious crisis management. In a crisis, my macro's good. My ability to remember to upgrade and to expand is good. My general focus on the minimap is good. And my army control is what lacks. That's where a huge faltering point clearly is in my play. Because I think I've made 3 or 4 gigantic army mistakes in this game that I really didn't need to. And in the meantime, my money's been building up a little bit. Once I did that huge blunder with the army, I was just kind of like, ugh, we're seeing my money skyrocket into the 1300s and so doing the good old Expo sack. Would have ideally preferred to not lose that expansion, but such is life. Didn't quite warp the Templar in. And by the way, here's my brother getting reactors and of course beginning to make many, many, many Hellions in just a moment here. So, sadly losing everything, and at this point, still in crisis mode, and realizing, yeah, wow, you really can support 1 million gateways if you have a gold expansion, so I'm rapidly making more gateways. And this is something I think players need to do a little bit more often, is just spread their gateways out. I'm kind of building them in a big lump, but there's no reason to. I could build them over here, I could hide these gateways, I could build gateways here in a wall to hold off Hellion harass, I could, build it behind here and here to wall off some Ravens or something like that, trying to do some drops. But hey, note that in the midst of a crisis, yeah, still feeling focused on the forges. Yeah, upgrades, continuing to expand. Nick pulls back, playing a little bit defensively. I think this is a good choice. A lot of times when you get a big win, like for Nick that was killing off this bottom expo, you get overeager, want to try to win. He pulls back. Awesome. So thanks to having 1 million expansions, Nick actually can support 1 million different structures, making 1 million different copies of everything. And here are the engineering bays. Still really feel like those should actually be 2 different engineering bays. I think that's one of the reasons why I was able to stay ahead, but with all these Hellions coming out, it's going to be a little obnoxious to deal with, but I don't really have a choice. I don't really think that I can risk getting too many of those bigger meteor units. I mean, now that my money is still high, I could finally be able to warp out some extra stalkers and that sort of thing. But I'm just so... I know that Templar are going to be my one key to coming back, right? I've been playing from behind all game long. I need some huge storms and some monster zealots to be able to pull through. I really do want to get more gateways. I'm actually a little bit red-cheeked. I don't remember not making this many gateways. But hey, my transfer timing was good. Yeah, feeling good about the transfer timing. And coming up in just a moment, we will see one of the reasons why a lot of players hate playing against Terran on this map. This area here is such a pain in the ass. But of course, all you have to do is hit the T button and click as fast as you can, and you will storm everything to oblivion. Yeah! Alright, Sonic Storm. You see that? You see that, ladies and gentlemen? That is why Zealot Templar kicks ass.